The first ship appeared on a Tuesday morning, hovering over New York like a dark cloud obscuring the sun. By noon, there were 17 more positioned over major cities across the globe. By sunset, Earth's skies were filled with the ominous silhouettes of the Morgath fleet, their massive ships casting long shadows over humanity. Captain Zoe Harris stood in the underground command center of Earth Defense Initiative. Her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the alien vessels surrounding the planet. Her knuckles whitened as she gripped the edge of the command console. "They're just waiting?" Lieutenant Marco Delgado said beside her, his voice tight with tension. "What are they waiting for?" Zoe brushed a strand of dark hair from her face, her green eyes never leaving the display. "They're making a statement, showing their strength before they make demands." As if responding to her words, the main screen flickered and a transmission came through. The alien that appeared was humanoid, but clearly not human. Gray-blue skin stretched over sharp features, with 4 pupil-less eyes that glowed with an eerie amber light. "People of Earth." The alien's voice was oddly melodic but tinged with condescension. "I am General Vox Tool of the Morgath Empire. Your planet has been selected for colonization. Your resources are valuable, your location strategic. Surrender now, and a portion of your population will be permitted to live as subjects of the Empire. Resist, and you will be eliminated. You have 6 hours to decide." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving a heavy silence in the command center. "Well, General Viktor Antonov said, breaking the silence. His Russian accent was more pronounced under stress. "It seems we have visitors who don't understand basic hospitality." Zoe turned to face the assembled military and political leaders. "They expect us to surrender without a fight," she said. "They've studied our technology and determined we're no threat to them. What they don't know is that we've been preparing for this day for decades." She pressed a button on the console, and the display changed to show Earth's hidden defenses, orbital platforms disguised as satellites, ground-based energy weapons concealed within mountain ranges, and a fleet of spacecraft that had been built in secret underground facilities around the world. Project Cassandra, she said, naming the Global Defense Initiative that had been created after the first evidence of alien life was discovered 15 years earlier. "It's time to show these Morgath that humanity isn't as defenseless as they think." General Antonov nodded grimly. "Captain Harris, you will coordinate our space defense. Your fleet may be small, but it's our best hope of striking directly at their command ships." Zoe felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. 15 years of training of preparing for a threat most of humanity didn't even know existed had led to this moment. She straightened her back and nodded. "We'll be ready, sir." As the meeting disbanded, Lieutenant Delgado fell into step beside her. "You really think we can win this?" he asked quietly. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." Zoe didn't slow her pace as they headed toward the hangar where Earth's defensive fleet waited. "Technology isn't everything, Marco. Humanity has something the Morgath don't understand." "And what's that?" She allowed herself a small smile. "We're really stubborn." 6 hours later, the Morgath received their answer in the form of simultaneous attacks on their ships from Earth's hidden defenses. Energy beams lanced upward from concealed locations on every continent, striking the alien vessels with surprising force. At the same time, Earth's small but deadly fleet of spacecraft, led by Captain Harris, launched from hidden bases. The Morgath, caught off guard by the unexpected resistance, scrambled to respond. They had expected immediate surrender, or at most primitive attempts at defense. Instead, they found themselves facing coordinated attacks from multiple fronts. General Voxtol watched with growing rage as reports of damage came in from ships across his fleet. "Impossible," he hissed, his 4 eyes narrowing to slits. "These humans should not have this level of technology." His second-in-command, Subcommander Kell, approached cautiously. "General, it appears they have adapted some of our technology. Our long-range scans detected energy signatures similar to our own weapons, but cruder, less refined." Voxtool turned his rage toward Kell. "You mean to tell me these primitives have stolen our technology, how?" Unknown general, but they seem more resourceful than our intelligence suggested. Then we will show them the full might of the Morgath Empire, Foxtull snarled. Commence planetary bombardment. Target their major defense installations first, then their cities. Let them learn the price of defiance. As the Morgath ships positioned themselves for attack, Captain Harris's fleet engaged them in Earth's orbit. The human ships were smaller, less powerful, but unexpectedly agile. They darted between the massive Morgath vessels, targeting vulnerable points with precision strikes. In the cockpit of her command ship, the Phoenix Zoe guided her fleet with the calm authority of someone who had trained for this moment all her life. Delta Squadron, target the propulsion systems on the vessel at coordinates 4287. Omega Squadron, provide cover fire. They're still underestimating us. Use that to your advantage. The battle in orbit was chaotic, but the humans were fighting with everything they had. For every Earth ship lost, they managed to significantly damage or disable a Morgath vessel. It wasn't enough to win, but it was enough to make the aliens realize this wouldn't be the easy conquest they had anticipated. On the ground, the situation was more dire. Despite Earth's hidden defenses, the Morgath's superior firepower was devastating. Their energy weapons carved swaths of destruction through cities and military installations alike. Millions died in the first wave of attacks. But humanity did not break. Instead, they adapted with astonishing speed. Dr. Eliza Jang, leading a team of scientists at a secure facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, worked frantically to understand and counter the Morgath technology. Their weapons operate on a quantum frequency we can disrupt, she explained to Zoe during a brief communication window between battles. Her lab coat was stained with coffee, her eyes red from lack of sleep, but there was fierce determination in her voice. We need to get closer to one of their ships, capture their technology intact if possible. Zoe nodded grimly. I'll see what we can do, Dr. Jang. But our priority has to be protecting what's left of our cities. If we can adapt their shield technology, we won't need to just protect, we can start to push back, Dr. Jang insisted. Get me that tech captain. I'll do the rest. Over the next several days, the battle for Earth continued with increasing intensity. The Morgath, enraged by the unexpected resistance, doubled their attacks. Cities burned, and the human death toll rose into the hundreds of millions. But pockets of resistance held firm, and Captain Harris's fleet continued to harass the Morgath ships, preventing them from establishing complete control of Earth's orbit. In a daring raid, Zoe led a small team to board one of the damaged Morgath vessels. The alien interior was disorienting curved corridors lined with pulsing, organic-looking technology gravity that seemed to shift unpredictably, and an atmosphere that made their eyes water and throats burn despite their protective gear. We've got 5 minutes before they realize we're here, Lieutenant Delgado warned, keeping watch at an intersection of corridors. Their internal security systems are starting to detect our presence. Zoe worked quickly downloading data from what appeared to be a control terminal, while 2 of her team removed components from the ship's weapons and shield systems. Almost there, she muttered, watching the progress bar on her device. A high-pitched wail suddenly echoed through the corridors. That's their alarm, one of her team called out. We need to move now. They barely escaped fighting their way back to their shuttle, as Morgath soldiers, tall armored figures moving with unsettling speed, pursued them. Lieutenant Delgado took a hit to his shoulder, the alien energy weapon burning through his armor and searing the flesh beneath. But they made it back to the Phoenix with their stolen technology intact. Dr. Jang was waiting when they returned to Earth. Her eyes lit up when she saw what they had brought. This is exactly what we need, she said, already examining the alien components. Give me 48 hours. We might not have 48 hours, Zoe replied grimly. The Morgath are preparing something big. Our sensors are detecting massive energy buildups in their main fleet. Then I'll do it in 24, Dr. Jang promised. While Dr. Zhang and her team worked to adapt the alien technology, the situation on Earth grew increasingly desperate. The Morgath had established ground forces in several regions, deploying soldiers and mechanized units that overwhelmed conventional military responses. Only guerrilla tactics seemed effective, with small groups of resistance fighters using hit-and-run attacks to slow the alien advance. General Antonov coordinated these global resistance efforts from a series of mobile command centers constantly moving to avoid detection. "They're searching for our remaining leadership," he informed Zoe during a secure communication. "They've realized that destroying our command structure is key to breaking our resistance." "Then we need to make sure they don't find you," Zoe replied. "How are the civilian evacuations proceeding?" Antonov's face was haggard, the strain of the past days etched deeply in the lines around his eyes. "As well as can be expected. The underground shelters are at capacity. The Morgaths seem more focused on military targets for now, but I don't know how long that will last." 22 hours after Zoe's team had retrieved the alien technology, Dr. Jiang contacted her. The scientist's face was alight with triumph despite her obvious exhaustion. "We did it," she said without preamble. "We've adapted their shield technology and found a way to disrupt their weapons systems. It's not perfect, but it's a start." "What do you need from us?" Zoe asked. "We need to get this technology to every remaining military installation and resistance group," Dr. Zhang explained. "And we need to deploy these disruptors in orbit to protect what's left of your fleet." Implementation was not simple. The adapted technology had to be distributed globally, often by covert means, through territory now controlled by the Morgath. Lieutenant Delgado, his shoulder still healing from the energy weapon burn, led this effort, coordinating with resistance groups worldwide. "It's working," he reported to Zoe 3 days later. "The shields are holding against their weapons at least for a while, and the disruptors are giving us a fighting chance. We've actually started to reclaim territory in some areas." The tide was beginning to turn slowly but perceptibly. The Morgath, accustomed to quick conquests of less advanced species, found themselves in an increasingly frustrating position. Their seemingly insurmountable technological advantage was being eroded by human adaptability and determination. General Voxtool, furious at the unexpected setbacks, decided it was time to deploy the Morgath's ultimate weapon, a planet killer device capable of rendering Earth uninhabitable. "Prepare the Void Cascade," he ordered. "If we cannot have this world, neither will they." The Void Cascade was positioned in the flagship of the Morgath fleet, a massive vessel that dwarfed even their largest standard ships. As it moved into position, Earth's sensors detected the unprecedented energy buildup. "They're preparing to deploy some kind of superweapon," Dr. Jiang reported, her voice tense. "Based on the energy readings, it could potentially destabilize Earth's core or atmosphere. We're talking extinction-level event." Zoe gathered her remaining fleet, now augmented with the adapted shield technology and disruptors, for a desperate final assault on the Morgath flagship. "This is it," she told her pilots. "Everything we fought for comes down to this moment. We need to disable that weapon before they can deploy it." The battle that followed was the most intense yet. The Morgath, aware of the humans' plan, concentrated their defenses around the flagship. Earth's fleet took heavy losses, but they fought with the desperation of those who knew. Failure meant the end of their species. In the Phoenix, Zoe pushed her ship and crew to their limits, weaving through enemy fire to reach the flagship. "There's a vulnerability in their shield configuration," she noted, studying the sensor readings. "If we time our attack perfectly with the weapon's charging cycle, we might be able to breach their defenses." It was a slim chance, but it was the only one they had. Zoe coordinated with the remaining ships in her fleet, positioning them for a synchronized attack on the flagship's shields at the precise moment when the Void Cascade began its final charging sequence. "On my mark," she ordered, watching the energy readings spike. 3, 2, 1. Now. Every remaining Earth ship fired simultaneously, concentrating their attack on a single point in the flagship's shields. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing seemed to happen, then a flicker. a brief destabilization in the Morgath defenses. "We're going in," Zoe announced, piloting the Phoenix directly toward the breach, a payload of disruptors and explosive devices armed and ready. "Keep their attention divided." The Phoenix slipped through the momentary gap in the shields, sustaining heavy damage in the process. Systems failed across the ship, and Zoe's control panel sparked with electrical fires. "We're hit bad," her engineer reported. "Life support failing propulsion at 30%. Get us as close to the void cascade as possible," Zoe ordered, ignoring the smoke filling the bridge. "Then prepare to abandon ship." They reached the outer housing of the superweapon, just as the Phoenix's systems began critical failure. Zoe launched the payload directly into the weapon's exposed charging chamber, then ordered her remaining crew to the escape pods. "Captain, you need to come now," Lieutenant Delgado insisted, standing at the entrance to the last pod. Zoe shook her head, hands still on the controls. "Someone needs to make sure the payload detonates properly. The timing has to be perfect or the weapon could still deploy." She met his gaze steadily. "That's an order, Lieutenant. Get our people to safety." Reluctantly, Delgado entered the escape pod, leaving Zoe alone on the failing bridge of the Phoenix. She watched the sensor readings as the void cascade reached its peak charge, the moment when it was most unstable. With a silent prayer, she triggered the detonation sequence. The explosion was catastrophic. The void cascade, designed to channel vast amounts of energy toward a planetary target, instead imploded the force contained within the Morgath flagship. The resulting chain reaction tore through this massive vessel, destroying it from within. Zoe braced for death as the shockwave approached the Phoenix, but at the last moment, a strange calm came over her. She had done her duty. Earth would survive. Then, unexpectedly, her communication system crackled to life. "Captain Harris, do you read? This is the Valiant. We are approaching your position for emergency extraction." One of Earth's few remaining battlecruisers had fought its way through the chaos to reach her. As the Phoenix broke apart around her, Zoe was transported to safety, watching from the Valiant's bridge as the Morgath flagship disintegrated in a spectacular eruption of energy. The destruction of the flagship and the void cascade created a moment of shock throughout the Morgath fleet. For the first time in their long history of conquest, they faced not just setbacks, but a genuine defeat. The loss of General Vox Tool, who had perished with his flagship, threw their command structure into disarray. Subcommander Kell, now the highest-ranking Morgath officer, assessed the situation with cold pragmatism. The humans had proven far more dangerous than anticipated. They had adapted Morgath technology with unexpected speed and effectiveness. The cost of continuing this invasion would be far higher than the value of the planet. "All vessels is acting Commander Kell," he broadcast to the remaining Morgath ships. "We are disengaging from this system. Initiate withdrawal protocols immediately." On Earth, the news of the Morgath retreat was met first with disbelief, then with cautious celebration. After weeks of devastating conflict, the skies were gradually clearing of alien ships. The war wasn't over. The Morgath had established ground forces in several regions that would need to be dealt with, but the immediate threat to Earth's existence had passed. Captain Zoe Harris, recovering from injuries sustained during her escape from the Phoenix, watched the Morgath withdrawal from the medical bay of the Earth Defense Initiative's primary base. General Antonov stood beside her bed, his expression a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "You did it, Captain," he said simply. "You saved our world." Zoe shook her head slightly. "We all did, General. Every soldier, every scientist, every civilian who fought back this victory belongs to all of humanity." "The Morgath will return," Antonov said, his tone somber. "They won't accept this defeat easily." "I know," Zoe agreed. "But next time we'll be ready for them." In the months that followed, Earth began the long process of rebuilding. The cost had been immense. Entire cities destroyed, hundreds of millions, dead ecosystems damaged by alien weapons. But humanity had survived, and in surviving, had discovered a unity of purpose that transcended old national and ideological divisions. Dr. Eliza Jang led the global effort to understand and adapt the Morgath technology left behind. We've learned more in these past months than we might have in decades of normal scientific progress, she explained during a briefing with Earth's new Unified Defense Council. Their weapons, their propulsion systems, their communication technology, it's all providing insights that will help us prepare for their return. Lieutenant Delgado, promoted to commander for his actions during the war, was tasked with developing new training protocols for Earth's expanding defense forces. We need to be smarter, faster, and more adaptable, he insisted. The Morgath underestimated us once. They won't make that mistake again. 6 months after the Morgath withdrawal, Captain Harris, now Admiral Harris, stood on the observation deck of the new space station. Sentinel, watching as construction drones worked on an expanding fleet of Earth defense vessels. Each incorporated adapted Morgath technology, but with distinctly human innovations. Our greatest advantage was their arrogance, she told a group of newly recruited officers. They saw our technological limitations and assumed we were primitive in all ways. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to adapt, to learn to overcome challenges that seem insurmountable. She gestured toward the ships under construction. These vessels represent humanity's future among the stars, not as conquerors like the Morgath, but as explorers and defenders. We know now that we're not alone in the universe, and not all who dwell among the stars are friendly. Our job is to ensure that Earth remains safe, no matter what threats we may face. One of the young officers raised a hand. Admiral, do you think the Morgath will come back with a larger force? How can we possibly stand against their entire empire? Zoe smiled slightly. They might. And if they do, they'll find that we've learned from every mistake, adapted every piece of technology they left behind, and prepared in ways they can't imagine. Her expression grew serious. The Morgath made a critical error when they attacked Earth. They assumed that technological superiority guaranteed victory. They didn't understand that humans have spent centuries telling stories about overcoming impossible odds and then making those stories reality. As she spoke, long-range sensors detected unusual activity at the edge of the solar system. A small Morgath scout ship, cloaked but not entirely invisible to Earth's new detection systems, was observing the planet from a distance. Inside, a Morgath officer recorded the remarkable recovery and adaptation of the human species, noting with concern the new technologies they had developed from Morgath remnants. The message this scout would carry back to the Morgath Empire was clear. Earth would not be an easy conquest. The humans had not only survived the first invasion attempt, but had emerged stronger, more unified, and more technologically advanced. The next confrontation would not be a simple matter of superior force. It would be a true test of which species could better adapt and overcome. On Earth, unaware of the distant observer, Admiral Harris concluded her address to the young officers. The Morgath invasion taught us something important about ourselves, she said. When pushed to the brink, humanity doesn't break, we innovate. We adapt, we overcome. The aliens had invaded Earth, thinking it would be an easy conquest. She allowed herself a rare full smile. Big mistake. Huge. As night fell over the recovering planet, the lights of rebuilt cities glowed like beacons in the darkness. In laboratories and military bases, in homes and schools, humans went about the business of rebuilding their world and preparing for whatever might come next from the stars. They had faced extinction and survived. They had met a technologically superior foe and prevailed through ingenuity and determination. The Morgath had invaded Earth expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. A species that once roused to action would not rest until they had secured their place among the stars. The first battle was over, but the war for humanity's future had just begun. And Earth was ready.